I'm not late. Crap. I'm not late. Well, I wasn't late. I'm early. I was looking at the wrong. My hair looks awful. I know that. Jimmy, I need to spit on it. Here I am, Brenda, but I really wasn't late. I was just looking at the wrong clock. Hi, Carol. Welcome in. Corky's here. Brenda Pruitt's here. Welcome, my lovely bride. Monarch Moments is or may not be in the house. Francisco, welcome in, buddy. Well, I think Francisco's on the gonna be watching later. Anybody else said hi yet? No, you know how Garrett is, Carol. He may be incognito or he may not be. Just but since between you and I, this is tonight's brought to you by Jameson's Black Barrel Irish Whiskey. I decided a good part about being neutral might also be not taking sides on alcoholic consumption. It's not really brought to us by Jameson, but it's going to help. I think I got that for Christmas from the girls or from Jennifer and Brian, maybe. I don't know. How is everybody tonight? Carol, are you did you guys get snowed on this week? Or is that maybe that was the other side of Michigan I saw got snow? Hey Doug, welcome in. Zippity Doo Doug is with us. Zippity Doo Doug, zippity a. My oh my, what a wonderful day. Gonna miss that song next time I go to Disney. Maybe, maybe not. They may play that in other places. Carol, I just wanted you to know that this will be an official show tonight, as I have slides, but only 5 or 6. And 2 of those are introduction. Oh, 3 of those are introductory slides that you've seen before. Hey, buddy. Turn around here and say hi to Carol. Turn around here and say hi. Come here. Let everybody see you. Yeah. Say hi there. Say hi to Miss Carol. You're not going to look at the camera? She had no real snow, she says. It has some wintry mix earlier in the week. Carol says, hello, Super Teddy. Says, you're looking good, sir. I'll just give you a little hint there. She never tells me that. I think she plays favoritism just a wee bit. Then again, who wouldn't? He's going to go back to his nap. Big T. Brenda calls him Big T or Ted. Now he's got my arm. I may not get it back for a few minutes. Good thing I don't have to type. I can just talk. He's laid down on it, grabbed hold of it. Not hurting me, but hugging it nonetheless. No less. I'll get those words out here in a minute. I know something else I forgot to do. Be right back. Oh, he is that, Carol. All right, I'm back. No, he's definitely an emotional support cat, aren't you? Aren't you? Should I tell him what you do? Is it okay if I tell him? No, I came back. Doug. I had to do something off camera for a second. Yeah, Teddy is actually a bit of a emotional support cat. I don't know if I've told you this before, but he's picked up some interesting traits of late, or I can't call them habits, but every once in a while I'll fall asleep on the couch or something, and maybe my head falls down over my chest, and I'll wake up to him standing in my face meowing at me, and not I mean just kind of loud, but not. And he'll do that, or he'll bump my face, or he likes to grab my beard now until he wakes me up. And when I wake up, and for a while I couldn't figure that. I mean, that was just, I thought, well, for some reason he's waking me up, and he only does that every once in a while. And then one night I was on the phone with somebody having not the best of nights. I can't remember now what that was about. And he came down and curled up on my shoulder and, rested his head up against my head. I've showed you that picture. And, it's like, and purred, kind of like, calm down, it's okay. And then most recently, he kind of caught me getting upset, and my voice was going higher, and I was having a, let's say, maybe a little bit overly excited conversation with somebody. And he came back up, he crawled back up in my face again, and started rubbing my face, and again, I believe, to calm me down. I actually think I've heard of cats that would go to people when they were sick, and I read about a hospital one time that had a cat that every time somebody was on the verge of death, and that's a dark subject, but he would go lay down with them in their final hours, if you will. And and I think this guy's got that. He's got those inclinations. I don't know if he'll ever do that with anybody else, but he does it with me, and I don't think it's just a coincidence. But I could be wrong. I don't know what you guys think. You ever had an emotional support animal that reacted to? I mean, they train dogs to signal on emotions. I really do think he picks up on that. I think what he's doing when I'm asleep, I think when I do that, I think maybe I'm snoring, or maybe I'm not breathing right, and I think that's when he wakes me up. But I'm not positive. He won't tell me. He keeps it tight, close to the chest. But I'm going to believe he does it, whether anybody else does it or not. So that's what matters. He and I are pretty tight, if you hadn't noticed that by now. Boy, and he's shedding too right now, man. What did Carol say? Oh, when he disappears like that, he looks a lot like Garrett. Yeah, that's kind of a shame, but that's probably true. But I did come back. Garrett never comes back. Well, he's never there to begin with. Now, I think he is, Carol. I think he's checking on me. I really think he is. He's definitely my boy. I was talking to Mark a few minutes ago. Oh, if anybody's interested, the ones of you that know Mark or have met him on here or on my Saturday show, he just signed up for Facebook today, or as he called it, what did he call it earlier? my face or my face something. I can't remember. He had 2 or 3 names for it that weren't Facebook. But he just signed up for Facebook. If you look under Mark Zorn, no, he changed it. Mark Zorns, Zornes, Wyoming. You'll probably find it. Request a friendship. Just if you want, if you put your name, say, you come into my chats or whatever. By all means, he was trying to figure out how all that worked. Well, that's one reason I was kind of late. We'd been talking about that, and then he got suddenly cut off. He's having nasty weather, which is what I meant to start with here. When I talked to him, it was raining. He said about as hard as he's ever seen it rain out there. Most of the day it's been like that, but then I talked to him again about 4, and no, it was between 5 and 6, I guess, when he called me, because he said it was hailing, and so bad he was starting to get worried about his animals, and he sent me a picture, and it was all over the ground. You could see, ground that had finally turned green with grass was now had big ice chunks in it. I don't know if I can show that or not. I don't know if let me see if it's transferred over to my computer. Probably hasn't. I mean, if I wanted it to, it would. If I don't, it never will. Oh no, we're missing the hockey game. And now I can't even find it to look it up. How does that work? Yeah, maybe next week I can show it. Anyway, he sent me a picture on here. I can show you on my phone, probably. Well, he was also showing me the birds, but you can see that. If I can get to hold this right. And you see the white there on the grass. The snow had all melted, and that was just green grass. Well, mostly green. And this afternoon, it turned white again. He was giving me a bird count earlier. He's all the new birds that are coming back into the coming home, as he put it, are passing through. They get a lot of birds that pass through there that don't stop. Carol, you made some other comment. El Marcus come into the 21st century. Well, barely, and believe me, he came in kicking and screaming. Walking Scooby. He was giving me the bird. Yeah, but that's not too unusual. He would do that, knowing he'd get it right back. We were having a not heated, vocal discussion earlier today about things in the military. Maybe I'll save that for another day. Well, I've said it. I shouldn't have mentioned it. He and I were having that discussion. But oh man! All right, guys, have to beg my pardon tonight. I might be squirmy. I forgot to put my show on Instagram tonight, so I have a light crowd. I did see. I know. Mike got it, so Diane should know. I don't know. Anybody's talked to them the last couple of days. I don't know if they were going to be here or not. Hey, speaking of Diana, there she is. How are you tonight? You're here. You were listening. You were listening in. Shame on you. Oh, you're not that late. You're not late. I thought I was late. And then I found out I was looking at the wrong clock. And I was actually a few minutes early. Oh, I don't have, well, I've got a little bit of ice cream upstairs. I'll have later, I hope. That's about the only guilty pleasure I've got right now. Hey, Mike, welcome in. I don't know about anybody else in the room, but I do love ice cream. Brenda's a take it or leave it kind of person, but man, oh man, I love ice cream. And it shows. Sorry, I thought I had my shirt on backwards there for a minute. It came on in a real big hurry. What were we going to ask our favorite Canadians? Oh, you might have to send me a text to remind me. I have to think for a minute. Send me a text on my phone. That's terrible. I know there was something. Let me see if I wrote that down somewhere. No, I didn't write it down. Oh, and what is the name of your favorite ice cream place, Diana? Up in Canada. I do have a question though, Diana. While you're working on that question, I also have another one. That's and Mike too. But I mean, since the Packers are no longer, or the Jets are no longer in the playoffs, is hockey persona non grata in your house now? Sweet Tops. Don't know them, but I bet I know something similar by the sound. I bet that's kind of like what we've had down here is the creamery, and we had another place that was like, I mean, if they do a lot of flavors and then a lot of different toppings. No hockey. Hey, Mike, there's a couple of games on tonight. If you need to sneak off. In fact, Phil just sent me a note and said the Leafs are ahead already. I haven't checked scores. I didn't realize they'd already started, which means I'll probably miss most of that game. Good part about that is I can probably hang on just a minute, guys. A friend of mine had sent me a note and I'd ask him about something. Banana Canada, banana. Don't put it on there. Send me a text so you can explain it better. Because I can't remember. Tim, I was actually, let's see here. I was actually at the Winnipeg Jets head office today picking up some prizes. Very nice place. I got signed. Oh, really? That is excellent, Mike. Good deal. Good for you. Kind of handy to live in town. I wish I lived. Sometimes I wish I lived a little closer to Nashville. I'd probably go to more games down there if I could, or at least maybe go down for the street parties. But that's cool. What did Brenda say? Oh, cool. Well, if it's anything like Nashville, and if it's NHL gear, I don't know if Canada's different or not, but I tell you what, NHL approved gear from Nashville is expensive, so that's probably a pretty good prize. Well, no, but I'm not sure, Mike, but I wasn't going to ask. I wasn't going to be embarrassed enough to ask. Why don't you tell us what it is or explain it a little bit, one of you? I mean, I know what socials used to be around this part of the world, although it's not something that you hear about a lot these days. Sometimes socials were just big gatherings. We have an ice cream. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that's Carol. That's the kind we used to have, Carol. Ice cream, or it might have been ice cream with a covered dish. We used to do the ice cream thing in the summer. We'd all sit around and grind ice cream, or crank the ice cream makers and make homemade ice cream, and share it around amongst a bunch of people. And sometimes we would. Anybody know what a cakewalk really is? I mean, you hear about, oh, that's a cakewalk, but today we use that term in a different way. Well, it may be in the same. They might have used it this way years ago, but it's the cakewalks I grew up with. I don't hear about them anymore. They probably still have them in some places. It'd be kind of like something that would happen at a social, like Carol's talking about, and there'd be a cake. Women would bring, their favorite cakes or their specialty recipes from home, and some cakes would go up for the cakewalk, and you would, I guess, at some socials you might pay $1 for, put in $1 for the cake, and some places they were free, and everybody got in a circle, and they would put a mark on the ground somewhere that you didn't know where it was at, and they would play music, kind of like musical chairs in a sense, but you would all start walking in a circle. When the music stopped, wherever you stopped, they'd look down and see if you were on the mark, and if you were on that mark, you won that cake. Sort of like that with lots of booze. We do socials to raise money for organizations or weddings. They did that. That's kind of how some were here too, Diane. And that's what I'm saying. Some places you might pay it like $1 for a cakewalk, or 50 cents, and all that money would go into whatever the cause was that they were supporting, and they would give away cakes or pies, I suppose. But we call those cakewalks, which is probably where the term came from, because it was pretty easy to win that way. I mean, you just got to be lucky more than anything. Brenda, did you ever send me a text? Well, if you don't tell me, I can't remember. So, the last Friday in May. Well, I can't remember the last one I went to, but I was probably still in junior high, maybe. I don't know. People, it used to, most of the time it was around, some local church, or they would have them at a church, even if that wasn't the reason, because that was always a place where people could gather, usually without any problem. They'd open up the doors for, Some churches had social halls where people could, bring food and actually eat, and some churches didn't. And if the weather was nice, though, it'd always be outside. Food not be inside. Oh man, Carol, think how much more money you could probably get out of some of those people if you slipped a little booze in the right places. So I guess the general consensus is that a lot of people did that kind of thing to raise money. Yes, Carol, I believe she would. Yes, Diana, I believe she would be. Do you have Bud and Spuds down there? No, I don't know, Mike. I'm not sure we do. Hey, I don't see the hearts and things anymore. Oh, well, somebody send me some kind of happy faces. But I don't see it on my machine. Last Spuds I knew that had anything to do with Bud was, the Anheuser-Busch dog. Hey, Amy, welcome in AJC Magic TV. So tell us about Bud and Spuds, Mike or Diana, because I'm not sure if I know what that is either. And if you guys are going to tell me everybody drinks Budweiser beer there, I'm going to be really disappointed in my Canadian friends, because they got so much better beer in Canada than Budweiser. Bud Spud is the same idea, but Bud beer, baked potatoes, and steak. Oh God, it is Bud beer. Sorry then, but I would have thought, there's other beer up there. I know you guys don't just drink nasty United States beer. No, I bet they are good times. That much I would probably agree with. Yep, I'd be shocked and delighted. Keep the booze in a brown paper bag, though. They don't look kind of like I'm booze on kindergarten teachers. Oh, well, you'll have that. Amy, I hope you're having a good night up near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh, your Bud's better than ours? Well, that wouldn't be hard to do. I believe that. I'm not even going to ask if you've seen any of the Bud Light things that have been going on down here, which I think is funny. People go out and spend their good money on Bud Light and then shoot it up or bust it, throw it away or whatever they're doing. I'm glad you agree. I know Carol would agree because she likes a good craft beer or ale or whatever. Diana says she has cute sippy cups. They will never know. I like that. Good old Canadians. If we were in Europe, they probably wouldn't be a problem either. Hey, Cherie, welcome in. Surfer Girl 326 is with us, folks. Say hi. Oops, I forgot to. Down here, Diana, people were having some kind of social and they didn't want people to think you were drinking beer. They all knew you were, but to make it look like you weren't, you put it into like a red Solo cup or something. Now everybody knows what that means. So that doesn't really get you by anything anymore. I'm so relieved that I cannot put Diane in a timeout. Oh, oh well, we are all too, Brenda. Even though it was good for a laugh, we are. He's walking the dog, Mike. He probably didn't even see you. But then again, he could be ignoring you. He just told me recently that he didn't much like that Mike guy anyway. I didn't say that. I'm kidding. What more do you want? Well, Diane, I have to ask. I mean, we've not brought this anything up tonight. Does Mike have anything a stupid blank? If we did a test tonight, could we do? Or are you trying to start something? Well, I guess and no. I mean, I'm not really, but you know, I think I'm going to stop right there before I get in trouble. What was I going? Oh, we've talked about Mike's stupid car, and we've talked about Mike's stupid something else. What was it? Wasn't a snowmobile. Oh, cool, Mike. I think you should. What was the other stupid thing? What was the stupid thing from last week? Stupid car, stupid. Wasn't a truck. Stupid car. Oh, it was a truck. Okay. Got anything else put on that list? It'll be a stupid motorcycle next, I guess, if he gets his license. Brenda Sue, you cannot say that. You cannot tell Mike that would be another stupid vehicle because I don't believe that. Yeah, I can't believe you said that. First time I ever came to your house to visit you, I was on a motorcycle. It was the birth of the car, Mike. Oh crap! Now I'm going to have to remember what I was going to ask you guys, and I have to look that up. Tim rides with wisdom. Mike will be going 150. Well, I'm sure Tim's not always been as wise as Mike. Oh no, Diana says she's going to drive the motorcycle. Cool. Purely talking about Mike. Oh, okay. Yeah, Brenda Sue is. That's what she gets called, Sherry, when she's in trouble. Carol says my son and his buddies just built a stupid go-kart. Well, we must have something new, a new stupid. Mike says it was a smart truck. Mike will be like my friend who crashed. He crashed in Italy and Dennis ankle 90. I think Dennis probably didn't come out right. His bone was sticking out of his leg. Yeah, that'll happen. 2 hound dogs ran out in front of Phil one day a few years ago on the night before Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving. He was taking one of his bikes out just for a warm-up run because he hadn't run it in a couple of weeks, and he took it out and came around this little subdivision. He wasn't going all that fast, 40 or 45, and these 2 dogs he's out in the country, and these 2 dogs come running out of the yard and literally ran under his wheels, and he killed both the dogs and did some serious damage to himself. Damn dogs. And that's when I have to argue that dogs should be in some sort of, they should be on a leash or in a pen. Let's say you don't want to go to county emergency in one of those Italian towns. I try to pull him back into place without anesthesia. Oh, I got you. No, that wouldn't be a lot of fun. That would be. And Phil had a bone like that in his upper arm at humerus. It wasn't pretty either. He said he was screaming and passed out in pain. I think that's what they're hoping for, Garrett. If you pass out, they can go ahead and pop it into place or whatever, and then you know the screaming goes away. That way, they don't have to spend any money on anesthesia or whatever. That would be. You might keep the image in your mind as you motorcycle shop. Mike, I'll tell you what, Mike. All the scary stories and everything else aside, that's a decision you have to make. I've been riding for 51 years now, 51, 50, 52 years maybe. Yeah. And I have had a couple of minor fender benders, but if you do pay attention to what you're doing and don't go crazy, I mean, you can live a long and happy life on the back of a motorcycle. That's pretty good, Carol. I'd like to see that. You need to get us a picture. Didn't they try to sue Phil because he killed their dogs? I don't know. I think his insurance company may have approached them about paying some of his medical bills, and I think they did mention that. But I think the county shut them down because there is a leash law in that county, and there's obviously we're not on leashes or put up. So that I think that ended. I don't think that went very far, but yeah, it did come up, and feels like, gee, look what your dogs did to me. I didn't say hi to him either, Cheryl. It's supposed to be Carol, but Siri is stupid. Yeah, Siri can be stupid. Brenda and I was seriously considering getting a 3-wheeler last year before last, and we haven't gone there yet because I still wasn't doing so well. But there's part of me that still would like to do that and trade my 2-wheeler in for a Spider and start touring again on that. I really miss riding my motorcycle, probably more than anything that I can't do anymore. I've missed so many things. Phil and I had a lot planned when we both retired, and I don't get to do any of it anymore. I don't. He goes out. He's got 2 or 3 big trips planned for this year, but I'm not included. He almost won't even tell me about them because he feels bad that I can't go with him. I'm saving Mike's wife because he's my friend that's supposed to say life. This Siri is still stupid. Yeah, well, Mike, I don't agree with that. And if you really like, plus Brenda knows if I did die on the back of my bike, that'd probably be the happiest place you can find me. At least of all the things I do in my life. All right, guys. What time is it? It's 8:05. I guess I should get started. Give me just a moment here to pull up the what little slides I do have tonight. I don't have, but like I said, I don't have but a few. I have my opening slide, and I have a couple, just again introductory type slides that I want to put up again. And that's getting harder to do. All right, guys. So tonight, thanks for being here. I'll grab some pictures from Key and post them on the IG group. Good, do that, Carol. That'd be great. And Garrett said, I think you're a responsible motorcycle driver. I trust you. Mike is still my friend. But do you trust him on a fast motorcycle like one of those rice rockets? Well, I bet Mike wouldn't get on a rice rocket. I'd bet he'd be on something a little bit more, suitable to his age group. I don't know if that's a way to say that or not. And I'm getting mean to Mike. I need to be nicer like you are strong, handsome, and smart. That's you better, because he might come down to your part of California and look you up. And I think I would be correct in saying that I think he's bigger than you are. Okay. Tonight I'm going to talk about neutrality a little bit. And I put down on here, how do we gain some middle ground to start building the bridge between America's differences? And that's, we're kind of a small group to change America, but hey, it's got to start somewhere. And I put in this bridge in the sense that, you can't always see the other side. Or maybe you can't even see what that middle ground is. That's two ways to interpret the San Francisco fog there. But I put sometimes it's hard to see the other side. And let's go. Now the next two slides are just, going to be pretty much my usual. So please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. And then the basic rules of the chat, and we've gone over these before. I expect everybody here to think about these and try to obey them. If something gets out of hand, you're gonna get kicked out. I'll make sure Brenda can kick out if nothing else. And I need to close that. Whoop whoop. So anyway, we got that, and then I've got this. Oh no, this is something else I put in there from before. But again, it was just something I wanted to put in for. And I can't remember why I put this in, but Carol, I think it was you and I were talking about this. I think this Make It movement was what I was talking about, the program for young people that want to learn manual light skills as opposed to just going to college. And I don't know why, I don't remember why. Maybe we were going to talk about that one night. And but what I really put this in here for was, some of the topics are my own foibles, pursuits, and struggles, and then the countries, the world, maybe yours. And I think I put this down here, this drawing down here, to figure out how to build that blueprint. And then, but I think that is check. If you want to go check that, Carol, sometime, I'm pretty sure that's the website I was talking about, but I could be wrong. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about neutrality. And basically, it's the state of not supporting or helping either side of a conflict, or let's say discussion, disagreement, impartiality, absence of a decided views, expression, or strong feelings. And here's a problem with neutrality. How the hell do you get there? Just how does one maintain an even neutral keel when trying to work through a situation or topic that is near and dear to your heart? And this is the problem for all of us, including myself. I do find it difficult sometimes to stay in the middle and actually point out good and bad for both sides of the argument. And it's been pointed out that sometimes I don't do that well, and that's I'll say that's probably true, because it is hard when you've got a view that means something to you personally. But to get to this point of being able to talk about things together in this country, I feel, and with the diversity we have and by this I mean ideological diversity, not race or, well, culture plays into it, I suppose. But that's a tough place to gain. That's high ground that's hard to get to. And I want everybody in here to call me on it or help me maintain that. I really would like to stay as neutral as possible for this show, this time we have together, so that we can try to get, maybe it'll never go anywhere, but maybe it will. Maybe we'll come up with an idea that we can at least share with other people. And maybe by sharing it out, other people might think about it. And sometimes, even if you guys just think about it a little bit, that would be a victory in my mind. Or you can give me something that I can think about, and that would also be a victory. Sometimes I don't start. I try to be as neutral as I can, and I do try to see both sides of an argument. Sometimes it's hard. It depends on it depends on how vested you are in that particular discussion. I think that makes it harder. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be a day when I'm going to have to get somebody else to come in and be the moderator for a discussion that I just feel so passionately about. I can't withhold my opinion. For Brenda, I will abide by the rules. Well, Brenda, I'll put Brenda back in blue, Gary, and I'm going to tell you something right now. She's not afraid to kick anybody out of the chat. Diana is one of our nicest Canadian friends ever, and Brenda has kicked her out twice. Carol says, I think it's important to practice these skills with less controversial topics. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but we need to exercise those calm debating skills. I don't know. Is that a broken record? That's probably not. I mean, I don't know, but you're right. And like I said, I'm not always good at that either. I have very strong feelings about certain issues in gun control. I don't agree. I honestly don't agree with either side as far as far right and far left go, but I still have trouble finding that middle ground when one side doesn't, my opinion, one side doesn't want to come to the table and the other side is probably trying to be a little bit too. They're wanting restrictions or laws or things that are probably not going to happen. So anyway, so it makes it tough. So I don't disagree with that, Carolyn. And beat that record or beat that drum all you want to, because keep reminding, you have to remind us. You certainly have to remind me. I don't have a problem with that. No, Brenda's not blue tonight, Diana. Oh, you can't. Oh, Brenda. Sorry, I forgot. Now, Diana. Well, no, that's fair, though, Diana. You can go over at least 2. Because I feel like I've said that here before, but I may have said it in individual messages with all of you. You probably have, Carol. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not trying to say you hadn't. I'm saying that don't be afraid to say it again, and because that is the truth. Hey, buddy. And you have something to say? He just wanted to mention that sometimes when special treats are offered, it makes it easier to, pick one side or the other. Power is going to Diana's head. Oh, it is, isn't it, Carol? Brenda says, first of all, I believe people need to shut their mouth and just listen to people. Listening to people will go a long way. There's a saying, and this probably is all kinds of cultures, but I know I've heard it several times in Native American culture, and that's that the Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much and speak half as much. And that's a good point, because we all struggle to listen. Lord knows I do. I have to bite my tongue sometimes to make myself listen, not because I just don't want to hear them out. It's just I have trouble biting my tongue. I mean, literally, I want to jump in there and make my point too, and I've got to learn not to do that. So I'm going to try to obey, listen twice as much and talk about half as much, and see what that'll get us. Might help a lot. That said, I need input. I'll need input from you guys. So that's a couple of ideas, and please keep sending them in. And then I also asked the question, how as a nation or as a people do we get to that safe, neutral spot for discussions to begin, which is what we're talking about. Either way, you may be told you're biased, you're a turncoat, or that you're simply giving in or selling out to the other side. And I've been there. Sometimes when you're trying to allow both sides point to be heard, and I have been in this very position, then the one side will accuse you of, oh, you're just taking their side. And I didn't want to show that yet. And it's tough. It really is tough, and it's hard. It's tough for me. It's tough for me to do. I came into this Thursday night show trying to make that a priority to figure out how to come to neutral ground, how to approach the island without getting bombarded from both sides or without shooting back, if you will. The cannons in the castle don't need to be fired up either. And it is hard. It is really hard, and for some people harder than others. I've met very few people in my life that I can think of where that was an easy thing for them to do, that they didn't struggle with that in some fashion. I can give you another really good example. My dad and I could not discuss certain topics at all in the years before when he and I used to discuss such things or argue about them, because he was set and he wasn't going to change, and I guess I wasn't either. And it could have been anything from religion in general to acceptance of, well, let's say gay or homosexuality in the country or in the world, or it could have been about just politics in general, because we had gotten so far apart that our views were totally dichotomous. I mean, they just were gone, and it was really hard for us to get back to the middle ground, which as a son, I think probably should have been my job to do, and I struggled with it because probably it's the same pride that made him strong in his opinions was strong in me, and I probably inherited that from him and my mom both, and then it was really hard to do that. It just made it tougher. I was told that when they're finished talking, you are to repeat that to them, and they have said so, that they know you understand the words. That's a good point, Brendan. That is a common rule of debate and argument or moderating a meeting or a chat. I mean, I can't say I didn't learn that in meetings. We used to have training meetings for this sort of thing when I worked at TVA, and that is definitely one of the things that was part of that deal, was to sit down and write the question down and have them verify that you understood it, that you had written it down correctly so that it conveyed their response or their opinion. And then both sides could look at that and debate that further. And that, in all honesty, while that seems like a pain in the butt kind of thing to do, it is a way to make sure that both sides are hearing each other and not skipping out and picking up the pieces that they want to hear, just the parts they want. And that's important when you're having a discussion. And let me see. I'm going to go ahead and roll my last slide up here because we can just laugh about it a little bit. But this is kind of how it feels sometimes. I just found this today. And it says, well, I see everyone's coming to this meeting really ready to sit down and talk. And you got a guy here on a horse with a spear or I can't remember what they call that, a lance, to joust. And they got a guy here with a bow and quiver full of arrows and a bow. And this lady's got a monster fire hose that she's getting ready to blow that guy off the horse. And back here, I didn't notice this till just now. We got a guy with a cannon. And here's the chair already turned over. and their topic today was climate risk. So we're not talking climate risk, but I've been in meetings where I felt just like this. And that's usually how we approach the table, unfortunately. We all bring our favorite knife, our favorite weapon to the table to throw out there as our opinion. And sometimes that keeps us from hearing everybody else's side of the discussion. And what does Brenda say? You could not discuss certain topics with your. No, I could not. I mean, and honestly, it was so bad towards the end that I just we couldn't hardly even be together. And that still bothers me to this day. I mean, we tried. I mean, we did make up for that. I mean, we did get back together, but not as much as we had been. I don't know if we were ever as close as we had been. And then part of that was they were both, starting to lose their mental acuity, and that didn't help. But anyway, that's personal fault, but that is pertinent here because that's something when I talk, like I said before, when I want to talk about gun control issues versus school shootings, that's a very passionate topic for me, and it's really hard for me to sit down and discuss that and not pick a side. But that's that's one of the things, not the only thing, but that's one of the topics I wish we could figure out how to discuss in this country. It's hard because when people are passionate, comes hardhead in this, and then the other people that never talk about it, they just don't care. I don't want to deal with problems. Yeah, you get all that. And he's talking in Siri, so if it don't make sense, blame Siri again. I'll just put that up here so it's formal. I went into meetings when I was working for TVA with, I don't know if I should say, maybe I shouldn't say that, but when I was working for the government type job, we would go into meetings, and there was always a couple of people there who had an agenda and an opinion, and basically theirs was the only one they were going to listen to many times. And I can't say all those times that we worked out a suitable solution. In fact, in some cases, our solutions sometimes just had to be the law or the rules. I mean, we had certain restrictions and things that we were able to do that they did or did not always appreciate or understand. And sometimes it just came down to that. You've got to obey the law just like everybody else. Always something with most people that will stir them to work together is a common problem or enemy. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure we're there yet, but maybe. I hope so. Seldom do people who are a peace or a contentment want to say, at peace. I bet you meant, or at peace or contentment want to sacrifice that. Well, sure they don't. Some people do not want to stir the pot. I've known many people that would sit in meetings. In fact, I've been ridiculed many times because I would bring up a topic that everybody's talking about around the office cooler, so to speak, but nobody wants to bring up in a meeting. And then you'd bring it up because nobody else would. And before it was over with, you were the bad guy because they wanted to go home and they didn't want to get started. Tragedy, trials, and tribulations are almost necessary because of your makeup to bring out the best in us. I don't get hot-headed and being around him, Stanley. His family, I guess, they were very passionate about things. I know if somebody starts yelling at me, I'll turn around and walk away. When you stop yelling, I will listen. Yeah, and I'm afraid I grew up in a family of loud talkers. And Brenda tells me a lot to stop yelling, and I'm like, I don't think I am yelling, but I'm sure I am. My family was like that. My dad was loud. I was loud. I guess I learned it from him in a way. And I don't really mean to. I just don't. always even realize what I'm doing. But anyway, those are all personal faults that I have to work on. And I'm not here to plead my case to, forgive me for my moderating skills or sins or whatever. I'm just here to say those are all things that cause issues when you're trying to work together and trying to come up with ideas, for how do you sit down and talk about things and actually come away from them with useful ideas. I truly believe that despite the far left and the far right, I truly do believe that there is an answer or a way that we could improve our gun situation in this country without having to make American citizens give up all their firearms. Because Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. I mean, it's interpreted so many ways, but let's just call it a fact that it's there. Versus those who want to, take everything away because, they see guns strictly as a killing device. And, well, that might not come out right. Strictly as an evil thing. And I lost track there a little bit. Anyway, what I'm trying to say was it's very difficult to get those two together. But I truly believe, no, I know where I was going. I truly believe there is a middle ground there somewhere. It's hard to get there. You got to get started. You got to find a way to bring both together. And maybe that's by acknowledging that both sides are not always right. I hesitate to say they're wrong, because wrong probably just sits in the context of one side says you're wrong, I'm right. That's not where I'm going. Because you're exhausted more reasonable communication tactics. For sure, walking away is good when temperatures are high, or it isn't a necessary conversation. Yeah, and I'll have to agree with that. I mean, I should have learned to walk away as a much younger man instead of standing my ground. I don't know. I don't know if that's the Pruitt in me or the sensible in me, but we were stubborn as hell. My mom was stubborn. I mean, if she had a point, she was going to stand it regardless. She might let you say yours, but it was going to take a hell of a lot to make her change her mind on anything. So I guess in some ways I got that naturally. That's no excuse, I don't think, but I have to yell at Doug and Mike, and I'm older than both and still faster than them. That's because you don't respect that. What you're feeling is they don't respect you as an elder, and you don't respect them as a junior. When it is something that needs to be addressed, whether in a personal relationship, a work situation, or even a community, country, etc., then you need to discuss it. That's right. Which has been my whole point about the gun thing. Just in my own mind, at least, and honestly, that's why I quit. That's why I gave up on the NRA and walked away from the NRA as an organization many years ago, because they refused to come to the table to discuss, even to begin to discuss the situation. They have one line, one big old point with a bunch of little sub points, I guess, and that's it. There's no other way to do it. And on the other side, there's one way too. They say everything's got to go, and this will stop. And I don't think that's going to happen either. But that's it for their side, so they won't come to the middle. Idiots off the street being confrontational, good people walk away from 100% of the time. Yeah. And it's really bad when they get cold cocked from behind because they weren't, they walked away. I usually try to start that I might disagree, but I would love for you to explain to me why you believe that or feel that way. Well, that's not a bad way to approach it, Diana. again, you're hearing out that side. You're trying to listen to what their full argument is, or discussion. Argument in the sense of, ideals. Child struggling with wanting to quit. Can you put their foot up so they don't quit and you don't walk away? You're gonna have to stop walking and re-say that when Siri didn't. I can't get all the meaning out of that, Garrett. I don't want to misrepresent it. I hate to go, but I do need to do that bike ride with Sid before the sun goes down. Thanks, everyone. Great conversation. Well, Carol, I hate to see you go too, but have fun on the bike ride, and say hi to Sid. Oh man, Siri is going to get me in trouble. I can do that on my own. Bye, Tim. Oh, I mean Carol. Yeah, okay. You bye, whoever. Yeah, have a good night, Carol. So those are the kind of things I want to talk about in the future. I don't expect tonight to go as deep into those because I didn't come tonight with a quiver or a fire hose or any such thing as that to talk about anything in particular, other than trying to do a better job of talking from the middle instead of talking from one side or the other. It's not uncommon for me to say I believe there's a middle ground, but yet I'm talking from one side. And while I'm trying to be reasonable about that one side, I'm still talking from one side. So, I have to just confess, admit that and then move on or try to do better in the future. I'm training Scooby and listening to you at the same time. That might be hard to do. Then you don't give him a command that you wanted to say to us or something. Or don't walk in here and start telling everybody to sit, go, stop, stay, down, heal, because we're not going to do it. I'm not a good healer. I'll tell you that. I always feel if two parties are still going to get together, there is always hope. Well, that's a good thought. And I don't disagree with that. Getting them to come together or come back together seems to be one of the real problems we have here. Not in this room. I mean, I'm talking about in general. I really wonder when the last time was when we truly had legitimate side to side debates / discussions in our houses of government. Because I mean that I'll go all the way down to state levels, because we seem to again be so one sided, and be that because of in the United States at least, be that because of gerrymandering or whatever. It's really difficult for both sides to even get a seat at the table. And for example, in this state, the Republicans, and I'm not picking on Republicans here. If the Democrats were in charge, they'd probably do it too. But they've been in control long enough now in this state that they've gerrymandered most of the state around so that they've pretty much guaranteed a constant supermajority in this state, which basically means, that one side is never going to be able to outvote the other side. And I think it's about an 80-20 split. So for example, when those three Congress people were kicked out a couple of weeks ago over the gun issue and because of that shooting they had in Nashville, those three members of Congress basically had no protection. And, that's something about that to me is very unfair. I don't know how to do this, but I think it would be so much better if we could have a number of, representatives in Congress. We have two people for our U.S. Senate, and I guess state Senate too. You don't hear much about the state Senate here, mostly the state other representatives, but that there ought to be another way to do that without this issue of gerrymandering. There ought to be some way to maybe let all candidates be statewide and they get voted for, and then whoever gets elected, as opposed to making sure that every county in the east or the west elects a Democrat or a Republican. There was a time growing up when this state was probably controlled more by Democrats. Most of the South was, in fact. And back then, the roles have been kind of reversed since then. So, okay, and let's see here what I've missed. I think that's why you have to ask questions and try to engage the conversation in a calm, meaningful way. Good point, Diana. Brenda says, when I was growing up, my mom and dad did not yell or raise her voice. So it was really different when I met Tim. Yeah, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm not sure what Garrett means by Vienna. I bet he meant Diana. What do you bet? I bet Siri didn't say that right either. That's a good point, Diana. I think that's a very good point. And again, that's easier said than done. And I'm not knocking. I agree with you. I'm just saying that when you actually get to the nut cutting, as we used to say in the country here, sometimes that's a really hard thing to accomplish. It's too bad that it is, but it is. Michelle, I could say the same thing, but I'll go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, it's okay. Now I'm talking to Scooby. I don't know what all that meant. I think that was on purpose. I think that's a really good point, Dan. I need to go back through this this discussion tonight and write some of these things down so that I don't just forget them. I used to be able to do this and retain just about all of it, but that's not necessarily true anymore. For example, I can't remember what we were going to ask Diana and Mike, but it had something to do with the show we were watching. I'm pretty sure Brenda and I were watching. Any more thoughts or comments? And the numbers are down tonight a little bit, and I hope that I've not managed to run more people off and keep people out of the discussion. I know that I've set this up, and some people might say I've set this chat up for failure right from the beginning because it's not lighthearted and always easy or fun. That's not necessarily my intention. My intention is to have serious conversations. I feel like there's so many people out there doing other lighthearted things that we can all go to release and get away and watch and enjoy just based on Disney or other things, places like, Amy goes to many other places. Dave adventures with D in Georgia goes to many other places. Mike's trying to catch a cat. Why is Mike trying to catch a cat? Is this a wildcat? Squirrel. So I feel like that reservoir, that peaceful place many of us can go and relax and just talk happy stuff is there without me trying to go in and find space to do it some more. But with that being said, I really hope we can gather enough people to have these discussions. And if you have someone that you know that might like to be a part of these discussions, please bring them in or invite them in, and and we will try to not disappoint them, nor I got this. Phil just, I guess Phil's sending me updates on the hockey game. Mike, I'm sorry. It's not banned at my house yet. So anyway, if you know somebody else, by all means, invite them in. I don't want this group to get too big, but I'd like for it to increase a little bit. And we've had a few people that have come and gone. Like I said, I know a lot of people don't want to come in and get involved in serious discussions. And you know what? Something else I would say about that is, if you really don't want to come into a chat like this because you're concerned that stating your particular opinion or side of the issue is going to cause you loss of subscribers or, as the newspapers used to say, readership down the road, I don't have a problem with you coming up with a new screen name and coming in. And you don't even have to tell us who you are, or they don't if they want to, because that part's not important. What would be important to me is not what they do every Saturday morning, but what they might be willing to do to discuss issues on a Thursday evening. And as those things happen, and if we get more people in and the chats grow longer, hopefully not heated, but just longer. What Brenda's telling Garrett too much info. Why are you don't end it? I just got back. I have to pee. I'll sit in the front of the computer. You will have my full attention. Well, Garrett, because I won't quit it right now, but I'm going to be honest with you. I can't go too much longer than that because I'm in a little bit of pain. The cat that's been living under our porch for the last 3 years, we need to get him to a vet. Oh, yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. That, do you guys have any other contact with the cat, Diana? I'm not trying to change the subject, but if he's totally feral, you better be careful. He'll eat him alive. I don't care how big he is. Mike, I mean. Anyway, let me shut down the slideshow because I don't guess we really need that anymore. And I will shut that down. And Garrett, we're not trying to leave because you're coming to your. Well, actually, we're trying to get away before you get to your computer. That was the whole idea. Mike and I discussed that earlier, privately, private messages. But I guess I wasn't supposed to say that. Anyway, so whoever wants the floor, by all means, take it for a minute. I need to sit back and let my vocal cords rest. Well, Diana, I'd say that Mike's got his hands full trying to catch him then, if that's the case. Scooby was being naughty. Uh-oh. You sure it was not you? It was Scooby, not you? Oh, I've got a piece I was going to show. I'll save it. I'll show it again Saturday. We've been talking a bit about dogs lately, and I got something from another friend of the house here, so to speak, and it really applied to some of the things that we've been talking about lately. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick just for tonight's show. Hey, buddy. Come, yeah, well, come up here, okay? What's going on? Time to go up and have ice cream? Oh, Teddy loves ice cream, by the way. Let me remember what I did with it. Yeah. Well, now I can't find it. What? Hang on a minute, guys. I gotta figure out what's going on with the cat. Come here. You can't sit down there and cry if you don't want me to pick you up or do anything. Everything's okay down here, okay? I'm not upset or anything. All right. Did you come back down here to check on me? Come here, hop up in your seat. Come on. No, he started to, and then he backed off. Come here. Come on. There you are. Now, come around here. Come around here and hug on Daddy. I got some hound dog pictures from, I think I already saw those, though. What did I do with that? Yeah, hey, buddy. Yep, I just got a note. I saw I got a note from Tina and I missed it. It said she's not feeling well tonight, so she's on team replay. Sorry to hear that. Well, I can't find that, but I've got something. Golly, what was it? Where was it? Okay, I'll find it before Saturday, but I'll tell you about it now. It's about shepherds. This is a squirrel, so if anybody's keeping score, by all means, go for it. But it was about the first seen eye dog in this country, which was a shepherd, and I got a note from my daughter too, which is really wild. Oh Lord, I know what that is now. Okay. Oh, anyway, I don't know if this was an anniversary, but it was about, we talked about working dogs, I think, recently, and shepherds a little bit, or maybe they're going to be, but actually that might have been on the next topic I had. But this one was about the very first one, and the guy was from Nashville, I believe, who had the first seen eye dog in the country, and he was blind. And someone that he knew in this country had told him about a lady that was in Europe. This was in the either late 20s or early 30s. This was before World War II and Hitler and all that took over. So it might have been in the late 20s. But they were training shepherds over there to be seeing eye companions. And he went over there and he learned how to handle the dog and how to, work with a seeing eye dog. And after quite a bit of time, several months or maybe even a year or so, he came back to the United States with his dog. And it was said that he just amazed people by, walking through New York City when he landed. Back then, everything was by ship, usually. And he disembarked with his dog, and as he walked around New York City and crossed busy Manhattan streets and that kind of stuff, the dog protected him and took care of him and walked him. He could go anywhere he wanted to. And one comment he made, though, was in walking through some of those streets, he could feel the dog would stop him, start him, and tell him when he could go, and it was clear, but he would still be really close to some of those vehicles, and they'd go blasting past him. And he said he just knew that they were within inches of, dying, but the dog never let him get in a bad position. And eventually got back to Nashville, and it was the same down there. And he and maybe the other lady that had started it or told him about it, and a couple other people started the what is still known as the Seeing Eye, and they brought in dogs and trained dogs for a long time to do that kind of work with people who needed it, seeing impaired. And I just thought it was a really good story, and it fits right in with some of the stuff we've talked about with what Daddy thinks there should be seeing eye cats, but I don't know if that'd work. Okay, let's see here what all I missed while I was telling my story to start here, because we agree that sometimes some things, but there are differences. I think the main what, dude? Huh? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Whose boy are you anyway? Huh? Whose boy are you? Hmm. I am a good boy. I'm a sweet boy. And anybody says different, my Tim will beat about your head and shoulders. And the main thing is we talk about hot stove topics. We need to give grace and forgiveness. I agree. Brenda says, Garrett, you know what time the stream starts. Scooby will have to time around that. There you go. Thanks, Brenda. And Diana says something else to Garrett about 100. I can't remember what that means exactly. And then Garrett says, because there will be times when people will get heated or in a foul mood, and that's okay, because that's us being human. It is. And that is part of it. And, if somebody really gets to a point in here where they can't discuss anything they don't want, they're at that point where they're not hearing or don't wish to or just can't find it in them, then I recommend stepping out. And but I just ask that you seriously consider coming back. Don't just leave permanently. Cool down, come back in, let's talk about it. I would love if he decided to get out of hand, getting more comfortable at home and acting out more. Okay, I've not kept up with enough of that, I think. And then Garrett also said unpredictable. I'm usually doing work. Oh, and yeah, the time wise, but I am at 7:30. And the reason I'm at 7:30 on a Thursday night, and I'll throw this out there, it's been brought up. Won't say by who, but maybe there's a better night, and maybe there's a better time, and I'm open to discuss that. I started out doing this show at 10 o'clock at night, and some of the folks here couldn't make that, and they're important folks to this stream to me, such as Diane and Mike. Mike has to get up and go to work early in the morning. He's not retired like I am, nor does he live on the West Coast like some others do. And so I started moving the time up, and that's that, and some other people that couldn't make it. That's why I ended up starting at 7:30, and I like that pretty well. But I mean, that's still subject to change if there is a better time and night. I mean, I've thought about 9 o'clock on a Friday, but I think somebody else was there. Anyway, I was kidding about the 9 o'clock at Friday. I don't know if anybody picked up on that or not, but I while I'd like to bring in a few more people, I'll be honest with you, I'm not to the point yet where I want to bring in more people at the duress or at the inconvenience of my loyal followers, if you will, my friends, who will come in and discuss these things, whether we agree about them or not. you can do it on any night. There will always be someone streaming. Well, that's true. That's why I finally just stuck here and kind of stayed. And some nights I will stay later than 9 o'clock. Some nights I don't. I do like to, depending on how discussion's going, I don't have a problem with shutting down for other people at 9 o'clock, like Dean, for example. I haven't seen Dean tonight, so I don't know if he's on. But I've also gone past 9 o'clock if we were in a really good heated or active discussion about something. And I don't have a problem with that either most nights. I'll be honest with you, there are some nights when I just don't feel like it. Sometimes that's mental, but a lot of times that's just because of pain level. I'm not going to ride that horse. I'm not going to ask for anybody to feel sorry for me for that, but it's just truth. And that's just how it is. Diana, I do too. And I mean, I've thought about that a lot. And there was a time I thought, oh man, I need so many more subscribers and I need more people. And then I've thought about that. And you know, I don't want that. I don't want to be in a stream that's actually so big that I can't keep up with it or we can't have decent discussions. And I think that's what would happen. I mean, I think if it's going and the chat's just rolling too fast, or if I have to put a time delay on it so that I can keep up with it, then I think that loses the continuity of the discussion. And I don't want to do that either if I can help it. So I don't have a problem with it. The size, I think we have had some good discussions, and I hope we have many more to come. If you don't feel like it, just let us know. Conversation's always going on to be here. Yeah, Mike, and I appreciate that. I'd like to do it as much as I can, but there are times when I just can't stay as long as I'd like to. When I first started the chat, this stream, and when it was later at night, I tried to stay on as long as possible. And I was playing to folks that live, in the far west, not just Garrett. I mean, if that's what you think, that's not it. But there are other people that live on the West Coast, and I was kind of trying to see if any of them would come in. And if I'd stayed at the late night time, maybe they would have. But that just was more difficult for other people. So I decided to back that off and just see what happens. And that's where we are. And I apologize tonight. I got the thumbnail for YouTube out in time to get that out, but I forgot to. Bear with me, guys. My glasses got something on them, and I can't see through them. And I can't find my glasses cleaning cloth. Oh, me. I try my best. I'll be honest, I try not. Wow, that came off the ceiling. I try not to just wipe them off with anything. So, wow, I got major ceiling fall here. Brenda, are you up there stomping the floor? Oh, well, I'll get something in a minute. I've got these Kleenexes I've got I will use, even though they're really not the most scratch resistant things, but they've got a lotion on them, so it just usually smears even worse. But I'll see if I can't make it through the rest of the evening. Hey, Dave, welcome in. There's Adventures by D. I mentioned you earlier, buddy. Just talking about the fact that you do some good shows, and we were just talking about different people in here that do different kinds of things, not just Disney, but other places and stuff like that. And so good to see you in. And we're wrapping. I'll be honest, I'm wrapping up. It's 9 o'clock. I usually leave about now. I'm going to be here just a little bit longer, but my behind parts, as Uncle Remus used to say, are getting a little bit tender. Diana, wouldn't that be a good thing to have? Self-cleaning glasses would be amazing. weather in Tennessee today was actually very nice. It's been that way for a couple of days, even though I thought they were calling for some, bad weather to possibly blow through, but it hasn't been too bad up here for a few days now. How about down your way, Nut? You guys might have had some rougher weather than we did. Somebody tried that a long time ago with little windshield wipers on. I've actually seen that little windshield wipers going. I tried when I used to ride to work every day on my motorcycles. I used to try to figure out a way to invent windshield wipers for my face shield for those nasty days when it was just hard to see. That's the only problem I ever had riding in the rain was just visibility sometimes could get terrible. Dave, that coaster video is hilarious. Oh, have I seen that one? Maybe I haven't seen that one. I saw one riding with Dave on the one I saw where Dave was riding solo. The whole roller coaster himself was cool. That's what it's been up here, Dave, for the last couple of days. I'm really crossing my fingers that it lasts a little bit longer. Any day now, the humidity is going to jack up and the heat's going to go sky high, and it's going to be summer. This is about the most spring I remember it's happening in a while. Usually we go directly from winter to summer, and it's just boom, maybe one day in between, and then it's all over but the sweating and the crying. Dave said that was a dream. Where's that at here? That was a dream vlog. They don't normally let you film right on. Well, actually, I was wondering about that because I think you mentioned that in the film or the video, but you guys were able to do that, which I thought was great. Did that take a lot of off-season negotiating to get that, Dave? Well, I'd like to. I've talked about that with my wife, Garrett. I'm not sure she's ready to move to California. I'd have to live in Northern California. I mean, not saying Southern's bad, but Southern's hot and dry, and I'd much rather be up north, even if the fires might be there. I looked at jobs out there once, Gary. I looked at jobs in Yosemite and Redwoods National Forest, or applications. I didn't put in, but there used to be some federal jobs out there in those forests in that area, and I seriously thought about it. We could come out there and rent a place for a month. Well, that'd be fun too. If I get out there though for a whole month, I've got to figure out a way to have a motorcycle so I can ride the Pacific Coast Highway, because that's a bucket list item for me. It's been on my dream list since I was a kid. It'd be like the Brady Bunch. Mike, Diana, Brenda, Tim, Alexander, Carol, and family. Dave, if he wants to come, Doug and Belinda. Come on, we'll have to get us a big place, but we can do that. Center of Canada. What is Center of Canada? Dave asked her what part. Motorcycles. Let's see what he said. Rental lease them for a month. You can out there. I've looked into that before. It's not cheap, but you can do it. Believe it or not, renting a motorcycle is pretty much more expensive than a car or a camper for that matter. They're pretty high, but you can get them cheaper if you go by the month. The Bear Cycle Club. There you go. Dave said, I wish flights were cheaper to California. I haven't looked into that in a long time, Dave. Are they higher out there right now than other places? Because I've not looked. The last time we went to California by air, we got to go for free, I believe. We got tickets from a friend of Brenda's grandmother's, and we took advantage and went out and visited Disneyland for a long weekend, I believe, and then came home. And I'll have to admit, the weather was really good for that. We were there at a really good time of year. I need to ride my own out there, Garrett, and then spend some time, and then I can just ride wherever I wanted to. I think Mike would be safe if he was in a pack. Yeah, Garrett, exactly what are you trying to say there? I'm not very quick and I'm not very mobile, but between Mike and I bet we could take you. We can vlog our adventures. That was the other thing I was going to do in retirement, Gary. That's one of the reasons I got into vlogging and trying to learn how to do live streaming was because I wanted to vlog motorcycle trips. Flights are so stupid expensive. Oh, I wonder about that, Dino. Are they higher out of Canada than they would be from here? I don't know if you guys have to pay some kind of a. I don't mean this in actuality, but like a penalty just for me. I mean, does Canada just cost more, or is it less? Brenda and I've been seriously looking at change the subject here. I'm going astray here, but I'm tired, so I'm going to talk happy stuff here for a minute. Myself, Brenda and I've discussed several things. We've talked about a 3-wheeler and trying to travel the country. And if you ever wondered about that or seen the three, look online for Spider Canada. They're Canadair. I think it's Bombardier or Canadair Spiders. I'm trying to think of the other name for them. Oh crap! 3-wheel motorcycles. There's several people that tour the country and do some really good videos when they're doing that. And I wanted to do that. Well, I wanted to do it on the motorcycle that's out in the garage, but that didn't happen. But when I got crippled up, then I thought the 3-wheelers would be the way to do it. And we looked into that, and it could still happen. But we also looked into a motorhome so we could take the cats with us. And because if I wait till the cats are no longer here, and if we don't get another pet, Teddy's asleep. Then that's something we wanted to consider. You should take Brenda to Dollywood this summer. You know what, Mike? I'll take Brenda to Dollywood this summer if I can get some of you guys to come up down here and let's all go together. You and Diana and Carol and her family and Brenda and I and Dave and Chris and whoever we can gather up to go. And I would love to do that and would happily do that. Because at Dollywood, since the last time we were at Dollywood, it has grown and improved so much. When we first lived here in the late '90s and early aughts, and we bought season passes usually, and we went with the girls, and we went, but we haven't been in a while. It's about $3,000 to fly to California for both of you, or for the three of you, Diana, or just you, single passenger. Oh man, Dave, you buy that cinnamon bread, it's on. I want to. God, I crave that cinnamon bread every time I think about Dollywood. Now there are a lot of taxes on flights, that's for sure. I mean, that if you don't know about Dollywood cinnamon bread, you need to check that out because it is just it's to die for. I know, Mike, for you guys to do something like that would be a hell of an expense, but I'll tell you, if you ever do it, we'll figure out some way to put on the Ritz or put out the red carpet because I would love that, honestly. Carol's not here, but I know they were down here last year, and we got to meet with Carol and go out to eat dinner one night and meet her and Key. I think the rest of the family was doing something, but I don't know if they come every year or not, but they like coming down here for to go to Dollywood. And I know she's talked about coming down, if anybody could come down and meet up here too. 3,000 for the three of you. Well, that's still a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money. We can always try to start a GoFundMe. We could call it the Tennessee Bear Get Together. All funds and proceeds go to making it happen. Oh, okay, Dave. Yeah, we're excluding you, Garrett, but you don't ever take us to Disneyland, brother. You're welcome to pile in and come on out here. You can drive across country and be like, National Lampoon's Family Adventure, the Family Truckster, or you could fly. And you'd always be welcome. At least so far. Or we can go to Knott's. To me, it's the like the Dollywood of the West. Brenda's been to Knott's. I've never been to Knott's. So I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I don't disagree. I know they've got some fun roller coasters. Brenda went out there one year with her mom when her grandmother was still living in the LA Anaheim area, actually, and they went to Disneyland for a day. I think they went to Knott's for a day, and then they got on a train and rode up to the San Francisco area. Well, actually they went to Oakland and got off the train at Oakland, where her uncle picked them up and he lived in Pacifica, still does, and so they had some fun. Well, Garrett, try cinnamon toast. Maybe that'll get you through till you can get to Dollywood and get some real cinnamon bread. Actually, Brenda makes a pretty good cinnamon bread too, so I can't complain too much. But she knows how much I love just about anything that's got cinnamon in it or on it. She just shakes her head sometimes. I grew up eating cinnamon toast. My mom would make a cinnamon toast, and I guess I grew up hooked on it. I don't know. Go find Michelle Garrett. Yeah, or run down to the Whataburger, or no, it's not what In-N-Out burger, which I've never had. So if I ever get out west, I got to find an In-N-Out burger. I think that's it, isn't it? In-N-Out, I think so. I don't know if Carol knows, but some parts of the Midwest have White Castles. Here in Tennessee, and I think south of here, we usually have Crystals, which are very similar to White Castles, but different. And I honestly like White Castles better, but hard to find. They're not very many down here. Hey, Carol, I was just talking about you and White Castles. Do you guys have White Castles up your way? Not that you eat them, but you would know. Oh, you wanted to find Michelle because she's sweet. See, I thought you meant that he can make her fix him something to eat. He can complain to her instead of us. Carol, we're just talking about going to Dollywood for cinnamon buns. Yes. Well, cinnamon bread. It's a loaf. What were the little cinnamon things that I used to make? Cinnamon bites, you call them, that you made for the kids, and sometimes every once in a while make for me. Kayla is a sweetie. How did Kayla get in this conversation? Save your money, Tim. They're not that good in In-N-Out burger. Oh, really? We used to have White Castle, but I'm not sure now. Well, I don't know if you do either. We have them here. Nashville has a couple, but I don't know if we've got them anywhere closer to here. Like I said, I like them better than I do crystals if you like that sort of thing. But I can't eat any of those but every once in a while because they're just too. Well, that's where the term slider originally came from. Let's just put it that way. Save your money. In-N-Out burgers aren't that great of a place to eat them. Okay. Well, that's good to know, Mike. I've actually heard different kind of. I didn't know about their cost, but I've actually heard a little bit of both ways on that. Some people seem to really love them, and some people don't. Which reminds me, I should be hungry too. I've not had anything since breakfast. Oh well, yeah, I'd say In-N-Out are much better than White Castle. I wasn't trying to compare them with White Castles. They're White Castles are on their own. They're in their own kind of bracket with crystals, but I think they went out over crystals every time, personally. But that's just me. Crystals started in Chattanooga, and White Castles came out of somewhere in the Midwest. I can't remember if it's Indiana or Illinois. It's the best thing you can do with canned biscuit dough. That's absolutely true, Brenda. When I was growing up, we detested canned biscuits. My mom, God rest her soul, would fix canned biscuits because she didn't like to make biscuits. There were certain things my mother just did not do. Even though she was a really good cook, she didn't want real butter in our house, and she didn't like to make real biscuits. Now she could, but she didn't want to, so she would buy canned biscuits, and I absolutely hated those things. As Jerry Clower dubbed them, they were wampum biscuits. You whop them on the counter to get them open, and I just detest those things. And then Brenda came up with a recipe that actually makes them edible, and she called them cinnamon bites. And I don't know, did you invent that or did you get that from somebody? She started making it for the kids at daycare, and then she brought it home to me. I like it a lot, and it's cheap and they're easy to make. Even when I was a meat eater, I was afraid to eat White Castles. That's probably a legitimate concern, I guess. They might not be. I wouldn't call crystals something, and maybe White Castles either, for anyone who's digestively or gastrointestinally impaired. I'd probably stay away from them. They one of the keys to both of them is they cook them with the onions. The onions are caramelized and steamed, and the buns are then steamed on top of that all together, and so you get that whole cook thing all at one time. Oh, I like White Castles, and I'll eat crystals every once in a while. I just can't eat them very often because I usually pay for it later. The other big difference between White Castles and crystals is White Castles, when the guy invented them, if you will, one of the things he did was he put holes in the burger patties. So they've got holes, literally got holes punched in them, and that was so they would cook faster. Crystals doesn't have that. Oh, that's too bad, Garrett, because Disneyland, we were out there, I remember them having some pretty good food, but right this minute I couldn't tell you where all we ate. Certainly not at the 34 Club or whatever that place is. But I grew up eating fast food, so I can't, I'm afraid I'll probably eat Club 33. So I'll probably eat way more of it than I needed to. It was a treat for us to get to go out to a McDonald's. I used to have birthdays when I was younger, and my dad would stop at McDonald's on purpose to get Big Macs, so I could have Big Macs for my birthday. I just thought that was great. Probably ruined me for life. I've probably eaten way more than my share of quarter pounders in my lifetime. Man, these glasses are starting to get to me. They're awful. Okay, guys, I'll tell you what. I think I'm going to wrap it. I can't see. And I'm not finding my cleaning cloth. Aha. And either way, I need to probably start winding down. I am getting a little lunchy myself. Or dinnery or whatever. I'm getting a little hungry. So, I think that's what I'm going to do. So, guys, thanks for coming in. And, starting next week, we'll get back into a little bit more. And I'll try to stay dinner. Try to stay dinner. Well, I got food on my mind now. I'll try to stay as neutral as possible. Feel free to call me on it. And I may take a side from time to time, but I'm going to try to stay neutral as I can. And in order to try to encourage, more discussion. Bye, Brenda. Thanks. And some of you guys will be in on Saturday morning. Not sure yet if Mark's going to be with us. I talked to him a while ago. He is right now. He is scheduled to go work cattle. There's some nearby friends that have a pretty good sized ranch out near him that every year at this time of year they bring in all their cattle. I mean, it's still some places in the West. It's still done this way. They go out and herd up all the cattle and bring them in with the calves, the new calves with the cows with their new calves, and they brand them and do all that stuff that cowboys do. And he's got to do that Saturday unless the weather cancels it. So we may not see Mark. If we don't, I'll probably talk about dogs maybe again. I've got a show already put together. And if Mark is here, we've got another topic that we're going to discuss. So anyway, I hope to see some of you then. And if you're out there and you're available and you got some free time, join us. I'm sure it'll be a fun discussion. But until then, everybody be safe. Mike, again on a motorcycle, make sure you look out for the other guys. And I will see you soon. Thanks, guys.